Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks, here to have a discussion about student loans as they restart. The federal part, at least private, has been ongoing, and what you need to look out for and why you're in the position you're in. I want to have the discussion today because ain't nobody else going to talk about it the way I'm about to talk about it. We're going to talk about that lineal wealth that you lacking, how the tax laws say that shuts you out, who's supposed to pay for what, because grandma retired and she said she ain't paying for no student loans. She don't even know how many loans you got, but you over there washing feet. So you over there washing feet and moving groceries, and she don't even know how much student loan you have. Paying bills. Can we talk? And I want to talk about student loans and them restarting and some of the things you need to look out for and the hustles that the federal government are pulling in terms of how they're framing certain things that don't make sense. This is not a professional advice that I'm giving you. I'm not speaking to you as a lawyer. I'm speaking to you as Tone Talks, somebody producing content. But what I will tell you is there's some questions that you need to be asking. What I will tell you is that there's some debt that you're carrying that isn't your debt. What I will tell you is that you need some figuring out to do. If you have student loans right now, 10,000, 50,000, 150,000, you don't have no money to be giving no cousin. Let me say that again. You do not have money if you have that student loan debt. You have no extra money. You don't have money for church. You don't have money for your grandmama's ankles. You don't have nothing. You're negative. I don't know if they didn't tell you. I don't know if, meaning the school. I don't know if your parents and your grandmama didn't tell you. I don't know if your friends didn't tell you. But I'm gonna tell you today: if you got student loans, put a 0 on your ledger. I'm gonna put you first today. So you've been putting yourself last so long, you don't know what first look like. You want to argue about this restarting while you giving $100 out, ain't got it to give, you in default. Huh. I want to talk today. Can I talk? So I'm going to start off with this article because it frames the discussion that we're having. Again, the federal student loans will restart in October 15th, October 20th, different paydays. They have an on-ramp program that don't make no sense. So they're not going to report defaults until the next year, around November, right after the election. They have not told you that you can't afford the school you went to because your mama couldn't afford it, because your grandmama couldn't afford it, because you ADOS and ain't nobody did no goddamn politics. Let's talk. I want to get to it. When student loan payments resume, 56% of borrowers say they'll have to choose between their debt and buying groceries. New article just came out August 13th. Federal student loan payments are coming back and they're going to wreak havoc on borrowers' budgets. Interest accruals resume on September 1st and payments will be due in October for the first time in over 3 years. But over half of borrowers, 56%. So when they say that 56%, let's pause for a second. They're talking about all people, whites, blacks, Asians, Indians. But when you look at economics and you focus not just on blacks, but on ADOS, it might be 80, 85% of all the blacks. So what we saying? School collapsed us. No, we were collapsed regardless of school because ain't nothing but Uber out here. What we really saying is ain't no way out. At least not for ADOS. But over half of borrowers, all borrowers, say they will be forced to choose between making their loan payments or covering necessities like rent and groceries when the pandemic forbearance ends. The finding is in line with what the Biden administration and many experts have long feared. Come on. Though the brunt of the pandemic is in the rearview mirror and inflation is down from its meteoric rise last year, resuming student loan payments is likely going to hurt millions of households that had found some financial security over the past 3 years. Wasn't no security. It was insecurity in not having to pay them loans. That ain't no security. It was insecurity in the middle of chaos. Cutting back on non-essential spending will be the most typical way borrowers will adjust to make their student loan payments, according to Credit Karma. But there are only so many expenses you can eliminate. Here's how borrowers are planning to make ends meet, along with some tips on creating more room in tight budgets. So they're trying to spin it as positive. Ain't no positive in this negative. 310-388-3499 to call in, subscribe, donate, share. I wanted to have this show because they're spinning a lot of information out there, and I just want to give you my take. I want to give you a chance to call if you got student loans and you can't afford them. I want you to be able to get a space, because it's about to get real if it ain't real for many of you already. I want to talk about it. Even higher earners will struggle when payments resume. Unsurprisingly, 68% of borrowers with household incomes under $50,000 say they'll have to choose between keeping up with their loan payments and buying necessities, Credit Karma finds. But a large portion of high earners also expect to struggle. 45% of borrowers with household incomes of $100,000 or more say they'll be forced to make those hard choices. Other debts may be part of the issue. More than 50% of borrowers say they're struggling to pay auto loans, mortgages, credit card balances, or other bills. Can we talk about it? More credit card debt than ever in America. Can we talk about the $1,000 car payments? Can we talk about giving out money to grandma? The same grandma that don't know that you got student debt. Shout out to Pocket Watcher out there. What's your name? Where you calling from? I want to hear from you.
Okay, my name is Cynthia, and I'm from Montgomery County, Ohio, and I have severe student loans. And my student loans are a result of being a bottom caste. You know, my people didn't own very much, and what they did own was taken away from them through various reasons and various strategies. And the student loan servicers, they'll tell you that they'll work with you on payments, but sometimes the payments are just so exaggerated that you can't even get a lower payment without doing a forbearance, which doesn't eliminate or stop any type of interest. So all I'm just saying out here is people, you know, there's a lot of folk out here that have student loans and they don't want to talk about it. You know, I have a postgraduate degree, so my student loans are 6 digits. And it's going to be very difficult for me just to make the minimum payment.
I hear you, and let me say this. I appreciate you calling in. I'm gonna keep going with you because getting honest is part of what I want to do in this story. But I mean, the show. In addition, let me say this: I don't want to hear from high school dropouts or high school graduates that say, "Well, I'm better off without student loans." No, they built the whole society where you need inheritance and you need higher education. So this whole idea that you better off because you burning your hands out doing hair, and I commend the people who do hair, but it's a lot of work on your body. Or them people who hard laboring, we ain't supposed to be there after being Adolf for hundreds of years. So you figure out how you gonna look at this sister and say, well, I'm better off than her. Well, you tell that to your knuckles. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, that is true. I mean, I had to go to school and I had to get postgraduate education to do what I'm doing now. And we need politics. And all I'm saying, and I'm telling people, the only answer for ADOS is to join ADOS Advocacy Foundation and pledge your financial support, and then, you know, just your labor and your intellectual support to this movement. So I'm going to land my plane right there.
Ooh, that was a good call. Appreciate your honesty. Started off 310-388-3499. I want to hear from you. Going back to this article that we're reading, when student loan payments resume, 56% of borrowers say they'll have to choose between their debt and buying groceries. Nearly half of borrowers expect to go delinquent. Though 72% of borrowers say they will prioritize their student loan payments over other debts, many still expect they won't be able to make payments and could see, let me finish, their loans enter delinquency. In fact, 45% of borrowers expect their loans to go delinquent when the forbearance ends, the survey found. The good news is that will take a while. We'll talk about this on-ramp because it don't make no sense. The Biden administration has instituted a 12-month on-ramp period that allows borrowers to miss or make late payments on their loans without being considered delinquent or getting reported to credit agencies. We're going to dig into that because none of that makes sense. 310-388-3499. They told us with the Cosby Show and different worlds, they told us by giving us grandparents who partied the 70s away. They told us by making houses cheap for the people that are giving us our lessons that we could make a way for ourselves, and now it ain't nothing but debt. You got Biden talking about an on-ramp that you can miss payments. Again, this isn't professional advice, but I'll tell you right now, ain't nothing in this life that you can miss some payments unless that language says forbearance. And I'm talking about the kind of forbearance where ain't no interest accruing. That special kind that COVID just did, or unless your grandmama on her beans and she gonna pay this off. Yeah, it's her job to pay it off. They built the whole tax system around your grandmama paying your student loans off. I'm gonna show you in a second. You ain't got to worry. Whole thing is set up for her to pay off the loans with the money from the house that she bought in 1980 for $100 that's worth $450 now. It's set up that way. No tax. She can send it right to the school. I want to talk to you because a lot of ADOS people don't know that's how and why the school's so expensive. That it ain't supposed to be paid for with no labor. No 30% tax labor. So I posted this tweet. And in this tweet, I said, this is just awful. They are simply pushing the effects of federal student loans past the 2024 election. If you can't afford the federal student loan bills, just skip them. That's what Fortune said. Just skip them. Just skip them. So if the Joe Biden administration won't report credit defaults until October of 2024, the negative impacts on people's lives is felt after Election Day, November 5th, 2024. Ain't that how that goes? So you likely have young people get a year or so of missed student loan payments reported on their FICO right after the 24 election. Versus reporting it starting, say, December 23rd, forcing it to be a campaign topic and a major issue for the Biden presidency in early 24, people should be livid. And during that 12-month period, missed payments will not be reported to the credit agencies. That's not good. That is not good. Maybe y'all ain't dealt with the credit and with the student loan servicers and how they go. The young woman called in earlier. She talked about forbearance. They only give you 12 months of that, or for the whole life for the loan. You can use it how you split it up and all that. They say you get 12 months of that. I'm not talking about the COVID thing that the government did. I'm talking about these loans often have so much forbearance that you can use over the course of the loan, however long you had a loan. So again, the election is November 5th, 24 next year. So they are allowing you to miss the payments to right after the election. And you think that's good. I'm in so much debt. Please help. You got Biden speaking on it. To be clear, Biden noted this on-ramp. That's what they're calling it, an on-ramp, where they're going to let the interest accrue. It's not in forbearance, but they're not going to report it to the credit agency until a year from now, right after the election. To be clear, Biden noted this on-ramp is not the same thing as a student loan payment pause. Let me explain again. If they start in October, you're not 30 days late until mid-November, late November. That means a year later, you have 12 months of being late. But that happens and starts getting reported November 15th, November 25th. Oh, that's after the election. You don't got the NAACP, you don't got Al Sharpton, you don't got the Urban League, nobody saying nothing. To be clear, Biden noted this on-ramp is not the same thing as a student loan payment pause. Monthly payments will still be due and loans will still be accruing interest. We got Pocket Watcher in here. You need to pocket watch on Biden. Because none of this make no sense. You're going to tell people that they're not in forbearance, which is the legal language of when we go pause everything. The payments are due, but we going to be right by you and not report it for a year till right after the election. Huh. I wonder how many people are going to be able to call Biden when they put 11 months of past due payments at once on your credit. And they take your 690 all the way to 515. To be clear, Biden noted this on-ramp is not the same thing as a student loan payment pause. Monthly payments will still be due, and loans will still be accruing interest. But if borrowers miss payments when loan payments resume, they will be spared some of the worst consequences for a year anyway. The White House spelled the on-ramp out in a fact sheet released after the president's remarks. It explains that the Department of Education has created the on-ramp to protect the most vulnerable borrowers. And the most vulnerable of the vulnerable is the ADOS. I'm just telling you, a lot of people don't struggle with this. But I want you to know, because you can't miss no payments. I want the ADOS people, I want the black folks, I want the Americans watching this show. Don't miss no payments, don't play with this on-ramp, because it's not clear at all. The White House spelled the on-ramp out in a fact sheet released after the president's remarks. It explains that the Department of Education has created the on-ramp to protect the most vulnerable borrowers from the harshest consequences of late, missed, or partial payments for up to 12 months. The statement said this will run from October 1st, 23 to September 24. During this time, the White House noted that student loan payments will still be due and interest will still accrue on them. But key for people worried about their credit scores, borrowers will not be reported to credit bureaus, be considered in default, or referred to collection agencies for late, missed, or partial payments. So when we come back, when that year is up, you think they're going to start off reporting you as 30 days late when you really 11 months late? You don't know that you have not, you're not going to be talking to the federal government. You're going to be talking to a loan servicer. They sell that off. You think that loan servicer ain't going to drop 11 months of past due payments right on your credit as soon as they can? If you can pay your bills, you should, Biden said. But if you cannot, you miss payments, the on-ramp temporarily removes the threat of defaulting or having your credit harmed. We'll talk about it. What happens right after the election? I want to see it because I don't think all of you guys understand. It's not the same to be 30 days late as it is to be 60 days late. It's not the same to be 60 days late as it is to be 90 days late. So what is it to be 364 days late? How do late payments affect your credit? 30-day late payments drop your score of around 80 points. If you have excellent credit to start, 680 or above. So you go from a 680 to a 600 on 30 days. 60 to 90-day late payments drop your score between 80 and 120 points. If you have excellent credit to start, it drops you from a 680 to a 560. So if you got a 680 or a 690 from not paying your student loans and they done froze them, and then all of a sudden, November 15th, they drop 11 months of past due payments on your credit. What that make you, a 500? I need you to see it because this is all these photos. All these photos ain't deserved. 310-388-3499. You gonna call Sharpton? You remember when he had him outside in the big shoes? This dude do more taking pictures on the side entrance of the White House. You gonna call Sharpton? Hey, Al, they just put 11 months of past due on my thing. Can you call Biden directly? Well, he be having me come through the side with the big shoes. You gonna call Mark Morial? They always taking that photo like it's important. With the fishnets out in the fishnet shirt out in Ghana with the president of Ghana. The same Sharpton that was with Trump. They gonna call for you? Or is it just gonna be 11 months on your credit that mess up your life? I want to talk. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello.
Give me your take on it. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Thank you. My name is Shay. I'm calling from Maryland. So, one, I think that this shows that they can do whatever they want with credit reporting and credit rating. is so valuable, but the federal government really has a lot of flexibility and could totally take out the biases and restore credit. But the second point, I had student loans in the six figures. I have an advanced degree as well, graduate degree. And I made payments according to my loan repayment term for years. But the payments based on my income were less than the interest that was accruing. So I now owe more in student loans than I did when I graduated, because at the end of every year, they took that interest that wasn't paid fully and capitalized it back on the loan and then charged interest on the interest.
They're going to keep the interest during the on-ramp. It ain't in forbearance, which is the key word. And then they're going to keep the interest running. You just running late. So then when it restart, you 11 months behind. But then we pass the election. AOC said, I want you to stay with me. AOC said, I would like to see interest payments suspended during this time, especially during the 12-month ramp-up period. There are millions of people in this country that have student loan debts amounts under $10,000, $20,000 outlined in the plan. People should not be incurring interest during this 12-month. Well, the interest is half of it, and it's a major part of it, just to what you just said. But the other part of it is you're going to be 11 months behind. And you're not 11 months behind to the federal government. You 11 months behind to a collection agency that's going to call your ass and say, you 11 months behind. We allowed to call you now. It's been a year. I want to talk today because, go ahead.
No, that's an excellent point, Tone. I think that it doesn't say, nothing that I've read said that they have to stop all collections efforts. Collections agencies can intercept federal tax returns. They can intercept from your wages. They can garnish from your bank account. These debts don't discharge after death. So I think it really is a huge gray area in terms of what people can expect.
Any last thing you want to say to the audience on this student loan topic?
I just appreciate you educating all of us and getting this on the radar before people make a decision that'll come back to haunt us later on. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Woo! We got to have this conversation because everybody is just acting like this is a game. Grandma don't know how much student loan you got. You know all about her Social Security and her car insurance, and but she don't know how much student loan you got. Wealth go down, it don't go up in 2023. What you mean, Tom? What are you saying? I want you to see this chart. The rising cost of college in the U.S., the cost of obtaining a college education. And again, for those people late to the show that's going to come with that nonsense, well, then just don't go to college. I want you to look out there at the people driving Uber and cutting hair with their hands and burning out. It's not a world of vast opportunity where pensions for manufacturing workers is out there in abundance. For those people talking about UPS, oh no, you got to work in that warehouse to get that job on the truck that don't got no air conditioning. I'm just telling you the truth. It ain't some easy lifting out there for high school educated people. They made it so college is the avenue to a better life. Then they shut that down by saying your grandmama and your mama and your daddy supposed to pay for that college though. That's how it really flourishes. Not to mention have other assets that you can tie your college education into, your good credit into, so that you can live a better life than everybody else in the society. We didn't do no ADOS politics. The cost of obtaining a college education in the U.S. have ballooned relative to overall inflation. Average college tuition and fees have increased by 1,200% since 1980, while inflation is only up 230%, 236%. But this chart looked like something. Follow me. I want you to look at this chart. Just for a second. I'm going to show you a second chart. It looked just like this chart. Ask yourself why this chart looks just like this chart. Because this wealth is required to be part of that green bar. You pull the money out the house, out the stocks, and you give it to your lawyer. Nobody told you? You thought this was a game? Let's talk. The wealth that was created through the homes, through the stocks, is how white folks are paying for college and why the tuition is so high. Now, in addition, there was no politics done. to keep these state schools from going up and up and up and up. So the tuition went up and up and up. So you got a mama that went to, you got a grandmama that went to, they went to school when it was free, and they telling you, well, I did it. Well, you didn't do the politics, so I could too. So now it's your bill. It's your bill. It's not mine. I'm just telling you, you can take it how you want to. There's a reason that this chart exactly mirrors this one. Woo! So if your parents ain't giving you 20 racks, that's like a little bit. 50 racks, 70 racks, they done did you wrong if you got that advanced degree. I'm gonna be the first to tell you and the last. I'm just telling you because ain't nobody talks about it. The great wealth transfer from baby boomers to millennials will impact the job market and economy, because that's how you pay for things, because they have mechanized tax rules and created it where they can transfer money free of tax. So like you go to work, you're going to pay on that money. You're going to pay 30%, 35%. It's hard to even make it, but you're going to pay on that money. You know how you don't pay it? It's getting that transfer. $59 trillion will be transferred from boomers to millennials between 2007 and 2061. I'm going to take a couple more callers in a second. I see y'all in the queue. But this is what I'm talking about. Pay tuition directly to your grandchild's school. Under a special tax code exemption, the amount of tuition a grandparent pays the school will not be subject to gift tax. That is how they decide the haves and have-nots. If you choose this method, remember that the gift tax exclusion only applies to tuition and does not include books, supplies, and room and board. So your grandmama can literally send $40,000 to USC, and that don't come out of inheritance, her estate tax exemption, tax-free to you. That's why school is high, in part. Wealthy individuals who are mindful of staying below the lifetime estate and gift tax exemption limit of $13 million per person as of 2023. Again, I went through this. It was only $600,000 in 96, 97. It's up to $13 million a person, 26 for a couple, because they transferring that wealth. For example, should think twice about giving their grands a chunk of cash for college. Don't give them the cash, said Thomas O'Connell, president of International Financial Advisory Group. By writing a check directly to the college to cover their grandchild's tuition, instead that money would be removed from the donor's taxable estate and would not be counted towards their lifetime gift and estate tax exemption. So they keep their $12.92 million of tax exemption, and then they still can give the grandparents, the grandchildren, a full up advantage on life and pay off that debt. That's what's supposed to happen. It's built into the law. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, Tom. This is David from Tampa Bay.
Give me your take on it.
Man, you're bringing up the grandparents, and I keep thinking of my own. Originally, I'm from Texas, and my grandparents were born in the late 20s, and they came up at a point in time. They, of course, were sharecropping, cotton picking folk, and came up at a time when they were able to take advantage of a small sliver of opportunity where Negroes were able to buy homes and be in community with each other and raise families and things like this. And it looked like things were going to go a certain way. But I know that through policy and through the lack of an apparatus like ADOS, that my grandparents eventually ended up not really able to pass anything down to my mother. And it's through all of this that I'm learning that I ain't got the wealth to do what I'm doing right now. You see, I already have $100,000 in wealth in debt because of not understanding the economics of it in 2006 when I went to start my undergrad. And now, because of this whole issue over the past few years with the COVID, with the pandemic,
Yep.
I'm right now saying, okay, well, I'll go back to school because I know that that's actual $500 extra from FAFSA to live on, and that still ain't enough. You see, because I'm here in Boston as we speak right now, searching for housing.
Oh yeah, you gonna be
because
searching.
my grandmama and granddaddy wasn't made whole through a reparations program that would make them on the same level economically with their white counterparts. My mama ain't made whole. They passed down a house that 4 children had to share.
Come on.
All right? That's already split 4 ways. And it's in South Dallas where they're already planning to gentrify. My Amy just passed away a couple months ago, and she works for the city of Dallas. And let me in on that, Colonel, that they are indeed planning on gentrifying that area. Watch out. Make sure that you hang on to this house. Don't let it go. But even still, I know. Let me ask you a question.
Let me ask you a question. I want also, what do you think about the rising cost of college exactly mirroring the rising wealth of white folk? I don't think it's coincidental.
It's not surprising. I don't think it's a coincidence. The price of anything being what it is because somebody can pay it. And if enough people can pay it to make it work, then yeah, they don't raise that price.
So this is my point.
This
is my point right here. When you go to the store, and I've used this example before in another way, when you go to the store and you eat bread, you don't walk up to the front and then say, how much you gonna pay me for eating that bread? So how is it that you got student loans and you giving your grandmama $200 a month? It's the same thing. That don't work. She lived during a great time, and she's supposed to have that great money. I understand there's race, I understand there's oppression, but whatever happened went wrong. And so now where we at is everybody got to go back to work. Ain't no more retirement. Don't nobody want to hear that though. We out here with no retirement, student loans, trying to help somebody that's supposed to be transferring wealth to us from the greatest time in American history. Let me explain again. In 1980, all of white folks had $2 trillion. By 1989, white folks had $24 trillion. Today, they have over $140 trillion. That means you had to get in on that wealth or your child, your grandchild cannot live here. But then you're going to ask for $150 while they got student loans, and you ain't asked them how much the student loans are. We ain't going to be questioning that. Make it make sense. Give me your last take on it.
I agree with you, Tom. Thank you so much for letting me on here and share what's going on, because I think that it's really important that we be honest, and that even still, if you do the right thing, quote unquote, and go ahead and get that piece of paper, no matter how much it costs. And you're going to be put into a situation right now where it's obviously you're going to have to be stuck paying people in the right here, right now, and mentally get that 11 months on your doorstep.
Well, we don't understand that there's pivotal moments in life, especially if you when your grandmama dies, she's supposed to have a life insurance policy at the lowest. But these moments are supposed to be transitionary moments where a chunk of money comes to you. If that don't happen, I don't know if you had a grandmama. I'm sorry. Not a social American grandmama. I'm sorry if I'm the first person to tell you. And everybody better figure this out, because this is not a game. They are giving millions of dollars. Again, understand what I'm saying when I say in 1996, they only could give $600,000. That means after that, in the top level was 55%, everything got taxed. They can give up to 13 million individually and 26 together. They are giving millions of dollars, and now you are going to go out to work and make $138,000 and compete against that? Man, caller, I'm going to let you go because I got a full queue. Thank you so much. I want to talk today. Again, the tax code says who's supposed to pay. That's why it's written that way. They can send a check straight to UCLA, and there ain't no tax. Ain't no tax. And we don't even know that's going on. Can I talk today? Can I explain what's going on? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Give me your take on it. Your name, where you calling from?
Oh, man, my name is
want to speak on, man, my experience with the student loan system, man. Like, you hitting everything on the nail, man. Like, my situation was, man, I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. You know what I'm saying? I'm the son of a drug addict, raised by a single grandmother, man, and I like, you know, a lot of people don't really know about these for-profit colleges. You know, I fell victim to the for-profit college system, and you know, I basically was scammed out of like $200,000 in debt. You know, and I've been homeless. You know what I'm saying, for like over a decade. You know, it's been a struggle. You know, take care of my daughter, man. You know, so man, it's crazy. You know.
What do you feel about how much college has increased and how little help so many people are getting to pay for this thing?
Oh man, you know, I argue with my grandmother about that all the time, man. You know, because she thinks she tells me I'm supposed to just go out here and get it. You know, work 2, 3, 4 jobs. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to just do everything on my own. And I have to explain to her like it ain't like how it was when you was growing up, like you said. You know, I have to explain that to her. So we go at it about that. I got a daughter, you know, right now that's going to college this year, but thank God she got a scholarship. You know, so I ain't got to worry about that. But you know, it's crazy.
Man, I appreciate you calling in. Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
Man, I just want to say, man, I appreciate you and your vet, man. I done learned so much, man, by listening to you guys, and man, just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you so much, man. I'm gonna keep it going. Because part of what I'm saying right now is about student loans and understanding the dates, the September 1st, the October, but then understanding, don't mess with this on-ramp. It don't make no sense. They ain't gave us no details, and all I know is that it sounds like a mess to be handed over to you in about a year. But I also want to talk about the obligation of these student loans. You can't have no intimate relationship with your grandmama, and she don't know how much loan you got. Up here thinking that you're supposed to pay her for being grandma. Go, grandma pay you for being grandson. In America in 2023, that's what the rules set up. That's what the benefit of their era set up. You got it backwards. You living doing the moonwalk, wondering why you ain't going forward. Money go down like water. It don't go up. Let me say that again. Money goes down like water. It do not go up. Now, they can give you something and you can grow it and give them some of that back, but you can't create much in this era. It's not a creation era. That's 2023. People don't understand. You ain't got to look. 59 trillion will be transferred from boomers to millennials, heirs, charities, and taxes between 2007 and 2061. 36 trillion in bequests at death. 27 trillion bequests to charities. Federal estate tax. 55.6 trillion. I think this bequest to heirs, that'll be like death and also gifts, like them student loans. I remember when I was a DA, one of the attorneys that was there, his grandparents basically, every time somebody graduated from school, they just wrote the check to the school. Whoop! That ain't even an inheritance. It's just a given. I don't know if everybody thought kids was free. Let me say that again. Did everybody in America, like there's a secret deal amongst black folks that kids is free? Bar a few. There's a few black folks out there doing it the way they should be. But generally, is there like a secret agreement to like say kids are free because they're not free? And then they get 19 and you just say, well, you got to figure it out in the world. And it don't make no sense because no, you didn't pay your bill yet. You had this kid and you didn't pay yet. I want to talk because the bills are here. Why your grandparents could be your meal ticket to college. See, even if you don't have money, did your grandparent or the figure that's like that do the work? What kind of work? Did they do this stuff on this thing? Hold on. Did they join the NAACP and then see what kind of scholarships that come from their 10-year membership at the NAACP? Did they join a big church, a church that gives out scholarships, planning for your moment when you go to college? Were they part of civic institutions in the community? Or did they just watch Jerry fucking Springer? Legacy scholarships. Several colleges provide assistance to legacies, which are descendants of alumni. While this is most often expressed through admission preferences, there are also a few that have scholarship funds for grandchildren of alumni. Did they go to college? Now, I'm not trying to blame nobody for not going to college, but this is going to be a hard era if they didn't go to college. Whew. Number 3, as an example. While not specifically restricted to grandchildren, there are a variety of scholarships based on students' ancestry and heritage. One example is the order of, so we didn't create no ADOS. Did they create ADOS? So that ADOS started creating like scholarships for ADOS people. Nope, didn't do that shit. There's also affiliations like churches and the NAACP. Like, did they do that? Did they get out there in politics? Nope, didn't do that. They don't even know how much goddamn scholarship you got. I mean, how much student loan you got. So you got to then question, what is this we doing? I'm just telling you because maybe we don't understand this student loan problem because there's the structural issues of the dates coming up, but then there's also the familial issues of who remembering the dates? Is it just you? Among Black Americans, it's not uncommon for those who can to help family members financially. Some call it the black tax, a term commonly used in South Africa that refers to the obligation of the first in the family, college graduates, professionals, or others who make it to assist their family member. Here's what the black tax does to so many families, including mine. Article came back a few years ago. You can't have no black tax in a wealth transfer era. Money flow down in this era. It don't flow up. Whatever happened in like 89 and 81, that's what's going to like lock in your advantage. You can believe what you want. What the parents are doing right now, I'm just going to tell you, is they refi the house. I'm talking about the lowest level. I'm not, you got higher levels than this. They refi the house because they got like 400 in equity. And then if they got 2 kids, even if the one is younger than the other one, say one's going off to college and the other one is like 2 years behind, 3 years behind, you can't do it unevenly where you just help that one. No, they take it out and they give 30. They might put 30 in an account for that one. And then they take the 30 for the other one and give it to her school. Like if your parents is asking for your financial aid, you finish. Maybe I'm the first person to kind of lay it out to you, but it can't go that way. Some gotta give, and it's probably gonna be you. Ain't no more black tax. You can't have student debt and be giving money to like a cousin on Cash App. Now, I'm not saying that what you're gonna do if somebody can't eat, but what I will tell you is you ain't got no money to help nobody eat if you got them student loans. Can I talk today? Y'all thought y'all was coming in here for just a student loan show and ended up with a lineage show. Student loans, in my view. Now, I'm not saying this is absolutely the way that everybody else thinks about it. But for me, student loans are a tax. Why are they a tax? Because they didn't exist before, and because of a failed set of politics, we allowed, particularly like in-state schools, to increase their tuitions as a result of the amount of immigration population, as a result of paying professors too much and paying for sports and all that. So now we paying a tax to the state through the school. So you already pay a bunch of tax when you make your dollar. Then you paying another tax by overpaying for the school. Student loans effectively are an additional tax if you pay $500 a month. That's I think like 6 racks a year, 6,000. So you making. I pulled up one of these. This ain't no official one. This is actually a public one, so you can kind of see. So they make $45,800. They pay $4,500 to the federal, $3,000 to the Social Security, $1,500 to the state. So they netting 36, and they got to go live. No, hold on. You don't get to live yet because your grandma didn't pay that bill that she was supposed to pay. You got to pay another 6 off the 36 to the tax. that student loan. So now you're down to 30, but then grandma wants some of the 30. Understand that swing. So the 6 she was supposed to take off you, she gonna leave on you and then add another, if she getting 100 a month, 1,200 on top of the 6. I want to talk today. It's just a text to me. You can see it how you want to. Student loan payments to restart soon as pause ends. Key dates to remember. Let me take the next caller and then I'll get into this. Caller, what's your name? Where you come from?
Hi, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin.
Give me
Can you hear me?
yes, give me your take on it.
Okay. Yeah, I am a college professor, and I have about $120,000 of student loans. And I just want to tell you a little bit about my situation. I have excellent credit. I have a credit score of 795. However, because of my student loan debt, my debt-to-income ratio is too high to qualify for a home loan. Now, so even though I have a job and it's relatively stable, I still cannot enjoy the American dream. And even though I have good credit, during the pandemic, I paid off all of my credit cards. So the big debt I have is the student loan. And I have to tell you, I am so serious right now because everybody is getting help but someone like me. And
no, I understand where you come from. The interesting part, and I'm gonna rough it because I don't have this in front of me. But like when they looked at white folks and when they paid off their student loans, by 20 years later, I think 90% of them have paid it off because student loans are actually something else. Let me tell you, you just made me have to say it to everybody. It's not supposed to be like a permanent thing that you yourself pay. It's like a holding spot until your grandmama pass on. And then she's supposed to either have insurance or the house, and then we pay it off. We don't have that moment though. And so what ends up happening is that nobody discusses who bill this is. So everybody walking around like they don't owe nothing for you having all this debt. We don't understand America. So we talk about the American dream and don't know what it takes to go to sleep. I feel you entirely because I have student debt as well. I have had to deal with people not understanding that student debt is not my debt. I have had to deal with people not understanding the cost of having a lawyer in your family. I have had to deal with people not understanding America. And so what's happening now is we don't even know that estate tax started at 13 million. We done sat around, watched Jerry Springer playing games. Caller, I'm gonna let you say one last thing to the audience.
Yeah, I am scared at, and we need to teach the younger generation about finances and really tell them that if you want a college degree, you make these sacrifices, and that may mean going to a less prestigious school, but do not go into debt because it really limits your opportunities. That's all I have during the show.
Thank you so much for calling. I enjoy that you called in. The only problem is they created a world where if you don't get the debt, somebody got to pay. Because it's expensive. Like you can't just say, well, then we just gonna sit here and live. They made it so you have to have somebody investing on you, or you have to go get debt to start your life. And I just believe that people don't understand. My thing also with this show is to look at these dates and make sure y'all understand these dates because they're gonna come so fast. Some of them already passed. Student loan payments to restart soon as pause ends. And that's as to the federal. A lot of y'all private loans, like I have private loans, they've been paying them. We've been paying them the whole time. Starting September 1st, interest will begin accruing. And also, let me say something else with the private loans. Watch out, because if you didn't consolidate and fix it, you can get caught where they go from like 1,100 to like 1,500, and they just say, well, we're not negotiating nothing. Part of that is the bankruptcy, and I'm going to talk about that before I get out of here. What Biden did with bankruptcy, which led to the student loan crisis. How does it lead to it? Well, if you can't bankrupt the money, they don't negotiate. And Biden did that. Just like he did with the incarceration, Biden created this problem himself. Starting September 1st, interest will begin accruing again on those balances are followed by the first debt repayments in October. While those are the most important dates to know, there are many more, including when you can enroll in Joe Biden's new payment plan. So he done knocked out the bankruptcy, and then he got this payment plan. August 1st, the Biden administration launched a beta application for its new income-driven repayment plan. Oh, I think I got some more stuff. Hold on. So August 1st is going to be a key day. October 1st, fact check. But I also want to talk about this bankruptcy. So what happens when you go into default? America's about having restarts. So you can go bankrupt and come back. They let Trump go bankrupt and come back. They let the companies go bankrupt and come back, Hertz and whoever. What about like an Adolf student? No, you can't use that because of Biden. What happens to student loan debt when you file for bankruptcy? Some people wanted to know if they could file for bankruptcy will student loans be discharged. The Biden administration announced earlier this month more than 8,000 student loan borrowers will have their remaining federal student loans forgiven. But what does it mean for borrowers who don't qualify if they file for bankruptcy? What we found, you can have your federal student loans discharged in bankruptcy court if you can prove that repaying these loans would impose an undue hardship, according to the studentaid.gov website. But Sheik said that's an uphill battle, and your creditors may challenge your request. So it becomes extremely difficult to get those student loans discharged in bankruptcy. She said in order to qualify, you would have to prove to the court that you make such minimal income that you would not be able to pay off those student loans. That becomes problematic because with federal student loans, you could qualify for income-driven repayments that are based on your income and monthly living expenses that are IDR, or really low or near zero. But that all came from Joe Biden. You can check it yourself. Joe Biden's role in creating the student debt crisis stretches back to the 70s. As a senator, Joe Biden supported several bills that contributed to the rise in borrowing from $1.8 billion in 77 to $12 billion in 89. I want you to understand what I'm saying. When you borrow money, if you can't bankrupt the money, when you go to negotiate, they say, I don't want to negotiate. Student loans are being traded like IRS tax liens. So basically, you cannot negotiate. So that makes it so they don't even want to hear from you. They don't want to deal with payment plans and things like that. Early in his senatorial career, Biden played a role in making it easier for students and parents to take out burdensome loans spanning across several decades. Later, his landmark bankruptcy reform legislation made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans, birthing a predatory industry and sinking millions into unsustainable levels of debt. Bernie Sanders unloaded on him Monday. This is an older article from 2020. Hitting everything from his vote on the war and damaging trade deals to his push for a major bankruptcy reform bill, which has caused enormous financial problems for working families. On Tuesday morning, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren has pointedly released a plan to repeal the harmful provisions in the bankruptcy bill, reviving a bitter fight she had with then Delaware Senator more than a decade ago. A surrogate, Adam Green of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, linked the bankruptcy plan to the line of attack against Biden that progressives see as the most potent. He is unelectable. Then when thinking about electability, it would be complete malpractice to nominate someone who conspired in back rooms for years with credit card lobbyists and voted for every corporate bankruptcy bill, Wall Street deregulation, and trade deal that voters hate, Green said. I want you to hear this article. In 1978, Biden supported the Middle Income Student Assistance Act, which eliminated income restrictions on federal loans. See, all these years are years when your grandma was like 28 and 30. Where was she at to learn about this politics? To push back, to say, I'm going to have a grandchild in 2023, and I'm going to say something at my church. We're not just going to let Biden come in here and wave his hand and give him our vote. In 1978, Biden supported the Middle Income Student Assistance Act, which eliminated income restrictions on federal loans to expand eligibility to all students. Biden helped write a separate bill that year, blocking students from seeking bankruptcy protections on those loans after graduation. Then he went on to vote to create the Parents Loan for Undergraduate Students, or PLUS, program in 1980, and the Auxiliary Loan to Assist Students, or ALAS, program in 81, which extended loan eligibility to students with no parental financial support. Within a few years, the crackdown that began in 78 would extend beyond just government loans. In 84, as Biden was gaining seniority on the Judiciary Committee, the Delaware lawmaker reprised his role as one of his party's top negotiators on a new legislative proposal. The International Business Times reported, though Biden ultimately missed the vote for the Higher Education Amendments of '86, he co-sponsored the legislation and said he would have voted for it if he were able to. One of the most significant changes in the higher education reauthorization was a provision that prevented students in default under the Guaranteed Student Loan Program from receiving new federal assistance. It also imposed new regulations that help fuel the development of lending industry giants like Sallie Mae by creating barriers from entry from smaller people, competition. Newer companies wanted to enter the field. The think tank education sector wrote in 2007, loosened loan eligibility requirements together with two new federal loan programs increased student borrowing from $1.8 billion in 77 to $12 billion in 89. Years later, as a senator from Delaware, Biden was one of the most enthusiastic supporters of the disastrous 2005 bankruptcy bill that made it nearly impossible for borrowers to reduce their student loan debt. So how many of y'all mamas' friends bankrupted their student loans in 96 or 93 when it was able to be? Now we can't. They changed the rules and it's good for them. The Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act raised the bar for families to pursue Chapter 7 bankruptcy protections. It overwhelmingly passed in the Senate at the end of the Clinton administration over objections of Warren, then a bankruptcy expert who had tangled for years with Biden over the issue. She lobbied First Lady Hillary Clinton, who herself persuaded Bill Clinton to veto it. Biden came back to the legislation under the Bush administration. So he can't get it in the Clinton. He gonna come back. It passed the Senate in 2005, 74 to 25, with most Democratic lawmakers, including then Senator Barack Obama, voting against it. George Bush signed it into law, and private student loan debt skyrocketed in the wake of the passage. A 2011 study from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that the 2005 bankruptcy bill led to a surge of foreclosures that may not have happened otherwise, translating to an additional 29,000 foreclosures every three months. To defend his support of the bill, Biden's campaign told Politico that knowing that the bill was likely to make it through the Republican-led Congress, he worked to moderate the bankruptcy bill. This is always the game. So again, we're reading this article so you can understand why we in Joe Biden's role in creating the student debt crisis. I want to talk today because I want to talk about this student loans. I want to talk about this college. I want to talk about this promise. I want to talk about everything that you guys are struggling with. Give you some of the dates, the September 1st, the October 1st. I need you guys to understand that this is a pivotal moment. There are discussions that need to be had, not only with the federal government and your loan provider, but also with your grandma and your mama. Because you need to have those discussions. You can't just keep telling yourself that my kids ain't going to struggle like I did because you're still struggling. You can't still be struggling talking about somebody else ain't going to struggle. You ain't got the ability. You ain't got the wealth. You ain't got the support. You ain't got the security. You ain't even did the ADOS politics to make that able to be happening. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share. I wanted to come with this discussion because everybody else seems like they just playing around. Thank you.